So, the GUI versus the kernel, right? So GUI, pretty simple. Kernel first. The kernel is, imagine you've got an egg, right? So the kernel is tough to say. It's everything, right? You don't see it, but it's the thing that runs all the processes, right? And then the GUI is the thing that surrounds it. It's the thing you interact with, right? So you got kernel for K and GUI, right? Pretty simple stuff. So basically, what you can think of for the kernel is, oh my god, whoop, there we go. Basically, you can interact with the kernel in many different ways. One of those ways that a lot of people do is with processes. So like, you've got your application, and it's going to be called Just Cause 3, right? And it's got many different processes, and they will send calls to the kernel, right? They will send calls, and the kernel responds with whatever it is, and then whatever that output is, this thing, I guess, would be displayed to the GUI, right? I guess JUI now. But one of the ways you can actually interact with the kernel is with the command prompt or terminal or shell or console, whatever word it is. There's differences between terminal and console and shell and whatever, but it's basically the generality is all the same, that there are ways to interact with the kernel, right? So you can let's say dir, that just prints, oh my fucking god, that just prints all of the directories in that system. So let's try dir slash, I think it's W. Nope. Let's try, let's see, what can we do here? Let's try, you can do, nope, that's it. Control X, it's one of these things. Control X, no. Oh, it's Windows R, that's what it is. So we open this up, we can do dir, right? That just shows us all of our drives. Basically, what this is this is just, the command prompt is just setting a, oops. The command prompt is just sending a call to, let's see, CMD is just sending a call to the kernel, and the kernel is sending back the output, right? And in Linux, you can think of this as std in, which is this, and std out, which is pretty simple, input and output, right? So we could do like cd, which is change directory. We could do downloads, and now we're in the downloads folder, and we can do dir, and they are all the downloads, right? Pretty simple stuff. And it even shows emojis, which I actually didn't know. But we could do cd ... which goes back a directory, so that's pretty simple. Do dir slash wide, I think it is, W for wide. Yeah, so then it just shows it all like that. We could do, let's see, what's a good one? Let's do, maybe cd documents. Let's do dir, and then we have nothing. So there's nothing in the documents folder. That doesn't matter. We can do, let's try it going back to just the C drive. So cd ... cd ... cd ... Now we're just in the C drive, right? So we do dir, and we get everything that is the thing. So it's pretty simple stuff, really. And everything that you're going to be doing on a computer is just sending calls to the kernel that executes a process, and then whatever that output is just being sent right back to you. And the only way you can see it is with the GUI. It's the everything that you see is GUI, and everything that executes or does anything when you click a button, when you press a key, that is the input to the kernel, and everything that you see is the output, right? You can actually have a OS without a GUI, and that is what you would call that is Linux. Some versions of Linux, where basically the kernel is all it is. It's just a kernel, and all you have is a shell, right? I don't really like these very much. I like the graphical user interface. But most Linux distributions, where Windows, it would be like this for a GUI. Most Linux distributions, the GUI is like very thin, right? Incredibly thin. Just because Linux is extremely heavily focused on the terminal for whatever reason. I can get into that in a later video, but that's just the basics of what you want. To recap, whenever you do anything on your computer, you are sending an input or a call, is what they call it, to the kernel, and then the kernel is processing that. It's deciding what to do or what to say. That sends it back. And if you don't have a GUI, then you would see that as text. But if you have a GUI, it'll show directly what it is. Like I could say, like here, I am in Paint right now, and I will do Alt F4, and that sends a call to the kernel that says, okay, we're gonna stop this program, but there's some dependencies where it'll be like, okay, but you haven't saved this. Do you want to save it? And it sends first. It'll say, do you want to save your work, right? And that's the std out that it'll send. And then if you say don't save, right, it'll say, okay, dependency save work equals no, and then it'll run the script from there, right? So all in all, pretty basic stuff generally speaking, but that's just the way I come to think of it. And also I like playing CMD because it's fun. Ooh, hacker man. Yeah, I mean, that's really it. Another thing that's important to know is there are two different ways, or there's many different ways to open your CMD. So I'll just move this here. So one thing you can do is just typing in, CMD, right? And you hit enter, and that opens a regular command prompt, right? You can also do CMD and run as administrator. So this is like the Uber powers, right? This is where you can do a lot more. So like, for example, I want to check my hard disk for any errors, so I ran check disk, which is spelled CHKDSK, right? Check disk. So here, I'll show you right now. So if I were to do just regular old CMD, open it up, now I were to run check disk. I ran it the other day, so it's fine. Access denied as you do not have a significant blah, blah, blah. You can read all that, I don't really care. You need elevated mode and make sure the disk is unlocked, blah, 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 who cares, right? But then if you were on check disk like this, you do check disk, and it would send a call to the kernel to make sure everything's good because you're in the elevated privilege mode, right? And the final way is just to run the Windows key plus R. That opens the run command. Again, that's just sending a call to the terminal that says we're inputting these two keys. So what does this mean? And the kernel says it means this, and that sends it back. You can also change this. So like if you were to say, you could change the, oh, look at that. Check disk is done. Found no problems. That's good. You could do like Windows R actually, you could change the system files. So to say Windows R actually doesn't open the run prompt. It opens, task manager or something, right? That's actually a fun exploit or not an exploit, but a way to get into people's computers. You open up the boot environment or Windows. I think it's Windows RE, so Windows recovery environment, and you do net use or net. It's either net use, net user, or I think it's net use, and you change the file name of or you change the file name of CMD to like accessibility dot something, right? And change accessibility to something else, right? And so when your screen is locked, let's see if it stays open, you would click on the accessibility right here and we just straight up open CMD, right? And then from there you can change your password or whatever, right? That's just a little interesting thing you can do. I don't know how to do that, but my friend did it on my computer, and I was pissed because you can't change it back, or sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. I'm not really sure how it works. Anyway, that's really all it is. So yeah.